What happens when an elderly woman reaches into her pocket, pulls out an old photograph and leaves Dr. Phil McGraw, a man who's listened to every kind of story for over 25 years, completely silent. The studio cameras caught the exact instant his hand froze in midair, his mouth slightly open, and for the first time in decades he couldn't find a single word to say. What was in that photo? And what made it silence not only Dr. Phil but everyone in the room? What followed would soon be remembered as one of the most striking moments in daytime television. It all began as a typical episode, a show about family secrets finally being exposed. According to the production schedule, Martha Henderson, age 82, had written to the show 6 months earlier. Her letter stood out among the thousands the producers received every week. It wasn't written in anger or desperation. It was simply truthful. "Dr. Phil," she wrote, "I've carried something with me for 60 years. I need to tell the truth before I go." Her story was planned for the second segment of the show. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing that hinted at the unexpected turn that was about to unfold. Martha arrived at the studio that morning, dressed neatly in her Sunday best. A light blue cardigan her late husband had once gifted her, practical shoes and a small silver locket resting against her chest. She held a worn leather purse close to her. "Feeling nervous, Mrs. Henderson?" a production assistant asked while attaching her microphone. "No, dear," Martha replied softly. "I'm ready." The show began as usual. Dr. Phil stepped onto the stage to loud applause, greeted the audience, and introduced the day's topic, standard opening procedure. "Today," he said, "we're discussing family secrets, the kind that destroy trust and create distance between loved ones. And joining us is a woman who's been carrying one for 60 years. Martha was then invited to the stage. She walked slowly and carefully as the audience offered polite applause. Taking her seat in a burgundy leather chair, she adjusted her cardigan and placed her purse on her lap. Dr. Phil sat across from her, wearing his familiar professional smile. "Martha, thank you for coming," he began. "Tell us about the secret you've been holding on to." Martha's hands shook slightly as she opened her purse. "Dr. Phil," she said, "in 1963, I was 21 and working as a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital in Chicago. No one in the studio, not Dr. Phil, not the crew, not the audience, was prepared for what she said next. I helped deliver a baby boy. His mother was 16, unmarried, and from a well-known family. They wanted to avoid a scandal." Martha's voice trembled. "They made me do something I've regretted every day since." Dr. Phil leaned forward, concern replacing his earlier composure. "What did they make you do, Martha?" "They told the mother her baby had died during delivery," Martha said, her tears beginning to fall. "But he didn't. He was alive, healthy, perfect. I held him. I heard him cry." The studio fell completely silent. Even the camera operators stopped adjusting their equipment. They had given the baby to another family. Martha continued. "They said they were good, wealthy people. But that young mother, just 16, never knew her son had survived." Dr. Phil's expression changed. This wasn't in the briefing notes. It wasn't what the producers had prepared for. "Martha," Dr. Phil said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "are you telling me you took part in an illegal adoption? That you helped take a baby from his mother?" "I didn't want to," Martha cried. "But the doctor and the family said it was the right thing. They said the girl was too young, that the baby would have a better life. I was only 21. I didn't know what else to do." Dr. Phil leaned back, trying to process it. His thoughts were racing. "Martha, why are you sharing this now after 60 years? Her trembling hands went back to her purse. "Because 2 years ago I discovered something. Subscribe and comment because the most powerful part of this story was still to come." Martha pulled out a folded newspaper clipping. Her hands shook as she opened it. That mother, the 16-year-old, she spent her life searching for her son. She hired investigators, contacted adoption agencies. She never stopped. Dr. Phil read the clipping silently. His jaw tightened. "When did she pass away?" 3 years ago, Martha whispered. "She died still searching, still hoping, never knowing her son was alive. Never knowing I was the one who took him." The weight of her words hung over the studio. Some audience members began to cry. Dr. Phil carefully set the clipping down. "Martha, you said you found something out 2 years ago. What was it?" Martha reached into her purse again, pulling out an old Polaroid photo, its edges worn and colors faded. "I took this picture. she said softly. The night it happened. I don't know why. Maybe I needed proof. Maybe I just couldn't let him disappear completely. She handed the photograph toward Dr. Phil. He reached for it, then stopped. His hand froze in midair. Hold on, Dr. Phil said quietly, looking directly at the camera. Stop the tape. The studio filled with murmurs. Stopping production mid-show almost never happened. Producers scrambled behind the scenes. Dr. Phil stood, walked to the edge of the stage. I need a production supervisor out here. Now. A woman with a headset rushed forward. Dr. Phil spoke quietly to her, gesturing toward Martha and the photo. Her eyes widened. She nodded, spoke into her headset, and hurried backstage. The audience sat in silence. Martha clutched the photograph to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Dr. Phil returned to his chair, but he was different now. The polished TV host was gone. This was real. Martha, he said softly, before we continue, I need to ask, have you verified any of this? Are you certain the baby in that photograph is the same person you've identified? Martha nodded. I hired a private investigator last year. I gave him everything. Hospital records from 1963, the family's name, the dates. And he found him. Dr. Phil, the baby's alive. He's 60 now, married with kids and grandchildren. He has no idea his life began with a lie. Off camera, Dr. Phil made an unexpected choice. He stood again, turning to his head producer. Get legal on the phone. Bring in our investigative team. I don't care what time it is. Everything stops until we verify this story. He turned to Martha. Mrs. Henderson, come backstage with me. We need to document everything, names, dates, records. If what you're saying is true and this man doesn't know his real mother, we have a duty to handle this properly. The audience erupted in applause. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was real life. Dr. Phil helped Martha to her feet. As they walked off stage, she turned to the audience. I've been a coward for 60 years, she said, her voice breaking. I let that mother die without knowing the truth. I can't change that, but maybe I can give her son the truth. What happened next stunned everyone. Backstage, Dr. Phil's team moved quickly. They contacted the investigator Martha had hired, pulled hospital and adoption records from 1963, and cross-checked census data. 6 hours later, they had confirmation. Everything Martha said was true. The baby had been placed with a family named Richardson who raised him as their own. He never knew he was adopted. His name was Michael Richardson, a high school teacher from Portland, Oregon. Married, 3 children, 2 grandchildren. By all accounts, a good man living a good life. Dr. Phil made another firm decision. We're not ambushing this man on television, he told his team. I don't care what makes good TV. We'll do this right. He personally called Michael Richardson. The conversation lasted 47 minutes. Dr. Phil explained who he was, why he was calling, and what Martha had revealed. At first, Michael didn't believe him. Then came anger, confusion, grief. My parents never told me, Michael said shakily. They're gone now. I can't even ask them why. Michael, Dr. Phil said gently, your birth mother spent her whole life searching for you. She never stopped. She died before she could find you. The sound of Michael crying came through the phone. After a long pause, he asked, She wanted me? She never stopped wanting you, Dr. Phil replied. 2 weeks later, a new episode aired. Quieter, more intimate. No audience, just Dr. Phil, Martha Henderson, and Michael Richardson. Michael held the faded photo Martha had taken the night he was born, staring at his infant face from 60 years ago. I don't know how to feel, he admitted. The people who raised me loved me. I had a good life. But my birth mother died thinking I was gone. Martha reached across the table. She'd want you to know she loved you. Every single day until her last breath. Michael took her hand. Do you know her name? Catherine Marie Donovan, Martha whispered. She was strong and brave. She fought for you to the very end. Martha pulled out a worn leather journal and a small knitted blanket. Your mother made this while she was pregnant, before they took you. Her sister kept it. Michael lifted the blanket to his face. It still smelled faintly of lavender, Catherine's favorite scent. He broke down completely. Michael, Dr. Phil said softly, our team located your birth mother's relatives. You have family on the cousins and aunts who would love to meet you. Through tears, Michael nodded. I want that. I want to know her even if she's gone. Weeks later came the final chapter. Dr. Phil's team arranged for Michael to meet Catherine's family at her gravesite. They brought flowers, photographs, and the journal. Michael read from it on camera. Catherine's words, written decades apart. August 12, 1963. Today you turn 1 month old. I hope you're happy. Somewhere your mother is thinking of you every second. August 12, 2020. Today you turn 57. I'm old now, sick, but I'm still looking. I'll never stop looking. I love you. Dr. Phil's closing statement was filmed at Catherine's grave. This story shows both the worst and best of humanity. The worst, a system that allowed children to be stolen. The best, a woman who found the courage to tell the truth, a man who chose forgiveness, and a family that finally came together. Martha placed a rose on Catherine's grave. I'm sorry you died not knowing, but your son knows now. He knows you loved him. Michael added his own flower. I wish I'd known you, Mom, but now I'll tell my children about you, about their grandmother who never gave up. The impact reached far beyond one family. Dr. Phil's team later partnered with adoption reform organizations, ensuring no story like this would be forgotten. Again, no more closed adoptions without consent, Dr. Phil declared publicly. No more children taken under the guise of what's best. The episode ignited a nationwide discussion. Several states went on to propose Catherine's Law, legislation that mandates complete transparency in all adoption processes. Michael soon became a voice for adoption reform. I love the family that raised me, he told legislators, but I deserve to know the truth. My mother deserved to know I was alive. Martha later founded an organization dedicated to reuniting families separated by closed adoptions. She passed away 2 years later. At her funeral, Michael delivered the eulogy. Martha made a terrible mistake 60 years ago, he said, but she also did something courageous. She told the truth. She restored my mother's memory to me. That's enough. Dr. Phil later reflected on that moment during the show's 25th anniversary special. In 25 years of doing this, he said, I've heard thousands of stories. But when Martha held up that photograph, when I understood the weight of what she was revealing, that was when I realized some stories are bigger than television. Some moments ask you to stop being a host and start being human. He held up the same photograph Martha had given him, a copy of the one she took in 1963. I keep this in my office, he shared. It reminds me why we do this. Not for ratings, not for attention, but because every person who steps on this stage deserves to be heard. Every secret that festers deserves to be revealed. Every wrong that can be corrected should be. That photograph became a symbol. The faded Polaroid of baby Michael, taken by a remorseful nurse on the hardest night of her career, came to represent the movement for adoption reform. It appeared in news features, congressional hearings, and documentaries. It stood for both the cruelty of a system that tore families apart and the courage it takes to make things right. Michael had the image framed. It sits beside a photo of Catherine, one of the few her sister managed to keep. Mother and son, captured in different moments, never together in life, but forever bound by a love that endured 6 decades and finally came home. When people ask Michael about that photograph, about the Dr. Phil appearance that changed everything, his answer never varies. That picture reminds me that my mother never stopped loving me. And really, that's what everyone hopes to know, that we were loved, that we mattered, that someone, somewhere, never gave up on us. Dr. Phil froze in silence that day, realizing what the photograph truly meant. It wasn't just about one lost child. It spoke for thousands of families separated by deception. In that quiet moment, television stopped being entertainment and became something more, a spark for real change. The silence in that studio wasn't empty. It was heavy, with grief for Catherine, pain for Michael, and hope that truth, even delayed, still has power. Sometimes that's what television should be. Not noise but honesty, not spectacle but meaning, not entertainment but transformation.